have been huge gains for pro-democracy candidates in Hong Kong's local elections after months of anti-government protests. The elections are being seen as a key test for the region's embattled Chief Executive Carrie Lam. Paul Ging has this report.
Hong Kong democracy candidates held a significant lead in initial returns. It's after residents turned out in record numbers to vote in district council elections on Sunday. The stand-in for pro-democracy activist Joshua Wong, who was banned from taking part in the elections, says the initial results send a strong message to the government.
They are not happy with how they deal with the protests so far, particularly in the last 5 months, and police brutality is actually over the top, I think. And I think that the Hong Kong people should really leverage on this result to ask for more democracy in the future.
Many people see this election as a proxy referendum on the government, but Executive Council member and pro-establishment legislator Regina Yip says she didn't think that was the right way to look at it.
I don't think it would be appropriate to look at this election as a referendum because no specific topics have been put forward for the voters to vote on. What we have seen is purely politicization of a set of local elections.
After 6 months of anti-government protests, the streets were quiet on Sunday. A record 71% of the 4.1 million people who registered to vote took part in the elections. Paul Ging, Euronews.
There's been obviously a lot of turmoil, a lot of chaos, and underlying all of that is it seems like a lot of frustration with how the government has been handling all of these issues over the course of the last half a year or so. And I think a lot of people are feeling like they want to make sure that their voices are heard, and they want to make sure that this time their vote matters.
There's been a huge wave of votes for pro-democracy groups. Do the Hong Kongers, particularly the protesters, trust the democratic process, though?
I think generally they do. Certainly, it seems like from some isolated reports, there are people who were sort of very wary of a lot of the different parts of the electoral process that they saw. But I think by and large, if they didn't trust the process, they wouldn't have gone out in such record numbers. And I think you also had people who were, I think what's really interesting is also people who are really taking this process into their own hands, where you had people who were watching the vote counting with their own eyes and sort of very aggressively putting their phones up sort of into the area where the people were counting the votes, just so that they could get a sense of their own participation in this electoral process, in this democratic process.